Good evening. The slow-motion train wreck of MPs Expenses has duly come to pass. The wheels have been blown clean off the gravy train with a leak of the entire sordid list of contortions and fantasies.
The system was wide open to abuse, and even if the rules weren't broken, they were often stretched. By switching which home is designated the second home, Cabinet Ministers could make sure they drew down the maximum permitted amount, now £24,000 a year, on top of their salaries. The Communities Secretary claimed for 3 different properties in 1 year. It meant Hazel Blears could claim for an £850 TV for one house in March 2004, and within a few months claim £913 for another TV in a different property. The Transport Secretary, Jeff Hoon, with the mortgage nearly paid off on his constituency home, bought a new London home in 2006, called that one his second home, and started claiming much chunkier £900 a month mortgage payments on that. The Chancellor Alistair Darling switched his designated second home 4 times in 4 years, even claiming over £2,000 worth of stamp duty. The Prime Minister, visiting a school in Sheffield today, blamed the system and said he wanted to reform it.
I've said the system has to change. I've said it's wrong and it should be amended. We want to abolish the present system, replace it by something different, and that's why I made the proposals I did a few days ago. I think the public must have confidence in the system by which members of Parliament of all political parties are paid, and I want to ensure that the system is the right one for the future.
But for years, Gordon Brown and many MPs have put up with this system. The second home allowance was meant to be about reimbursing the specific costs incurred for MPs having to have a home in the seat and a home close to Westminster. But over the years it mutated into something else, a sort of allowance or salary top-up. New MPs arriving in Westminster for the first time would often get a friendly arm round the shoulder from a whip who would explain to them that big salary hikes for MPs would frighten the voters. This was a more discreet way of enhancing their take-home pay.
Well, the system is wrong. The culture, I'm afraid, was also wrong. I mean, we are now talking about 4 or 5 years ago where there was a culture in the House of Commons that was, it's your money, claim it. Now, that's not an excuse. It's just that was the culture that was there. It was wrong. It needs to change.
The Telegraph is promising to publish some Tory MPs' receipts soon. But today, the newspaper concentrated on the government's receipts. And they reveal Cabinet Ministers sometimes stretching even these fairly relaxed rules. Gordon Brown had a £105 children's window blind claim rejected. Children's items are not permitted. David Miliband's attempt to claim for a pram was thrown out on similar grounds. Margaret Beckett had a few claims knocked back, including one for the painting of a garden pergola. She's one of a number of ministers who seem to go on spending sprees in March, just before the deadline for claims. Hazel Blears' spending zips up in March, neatly bringing the total claimed to a few pounds shy of the limit. The Justice Secretary, Jack Straw, claimed for nearly £1,500 worth of council tax that he had never paid. No one spotted it at the time, but the money's more recently been paid back.
The truth is about the system that we're now changing is that because it's not required receipts, it has been open to error of the kind that I've made, and much more open than the system we're putting in place. So I went through all my accounts because I thought I ought to. Now, I'd hope I would have done that anyway.
The government, Jack Straw included, had in the past been part of an effort to stop these receipts ever seeing the light of day. Gordon Brown, back in January, supported an attempt by the Leader of the Commons, Harriet Harman, to keep the receipts secret. That failed, and now the moment of pain MPs have long dreaded is upon them.
I think this is something that is going to hit all political parties. It's going to make all politicians look, as I say, either ridiculous or downright dodgy. The system needs to be changed from top to toe.
The Daily Telegraph reported a bizarre list of items claimed for by MPs, everything from loose eats to Kit Kats. The House of Commons today called on the police to investigate the theft of the receipts. Nobody here apologised. Some said the Telegraph was smearing MPs. All held their breath to see what headlines come next.
Well, now, despite the efforts of MPs, the amount of information in the public domain is enormous. For more details, go to our website. But here are a few other examples of MPs' expense claims which are raising more than a few eyebrows. The Welsh Secretary, Paul Murphy, had a new plumbing system installed at a cost of £3,400. The reason? The existing plumbing made the water too hot. He also claimed for a tin opener that cost the taxpayer £6. David Miliband, the Foreign Secretary, claimed for £132.96 for some gardening work. At the bottom of the receipt, the gardener wrote, "Please let me know if you would like pots making up at front and back this year, given the relatively short time you will be here and their labour-intensive nature." Things got pretty bad for Andy Burnham. In a dispute with the Fees Office, he wrote to officials, "Pay my expenses, otherwise I might be in line for divorce." And then, of course, there is John Prescott. He had mock Tudor beams attached to the front of his house and claimed the maximum possible amount for food, £4,800 a year, and 2 loo seats.
Welcome to your new home and your other new home and, yes, another new home. It could be a card manufacturer's dream cornering the MPs Expenses market.
At the heart of the concerns over MPs expenses is the additional costs allowance. This is what defines an MP's main home and their second home, and how much the taxpayer should contribute towards all this. And the crux of today's revelations is that some cabinet ministers appear to be regularly redefining what is their main home and their second home, which has the added benefit of allowing them to claim maximum expenses.
Under the additional costs or second home allowance, according to the MP's Green Book, they can claim mortgage interest repayments, stamp duty, legal fees, removal costs and furnishings, all to a maximum of just over £24,000. This is to help them, it says, when they have to stay away from their main home. According to reports, Hazel Blair's, the Communities Secretary, used the rules to claim for 3 properties in a single year. In March 2004, she said her second home was in her Salford constituency. She claimed her mortgage and bought a TV, video recorder and mattress, just over £1,500 worth. A month later, she said her second home was now a flat in South London. By December, she had sold that and bought another apartment, this time in central London. On this, she claimed more than £6,000 on household items, including another TV, her second in a year. And she threw in some bed linen and curtains, crockery and kitchen equipment, and £200 worth of bath towels. During the past 2 financial years, Ms Blair's has claimed the maximum allowed under the rules, to the pound. Oh, and she stayed in hotels while she was in between second homes, including the Zeta, which charges over £200 a night.
Clearly, all of my claims are entirely in accordance with the rules as they are, and I just want to make it clear that I've only ever had one small, 1-bedroom flat at any time in London. I live here in Salford, and obviously to be a Member of Parliament, I have to have somewhere to live in London, so thank you.
A spokesman added that the accommodation she needs in London includes a bed with a mattress, blankets and pillows, and a television.